Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So in this video, I will explain on the topic, okay, steel cost estimation for building works. So in this section, we will focus on the formwork. Okay. So basically, formwork is a temporary work that is to be conducted to prepare a mold, okay, for the concrete to be placed. Right. So basically, this is an overview of the formwork on the construction site. Okay. So the formwork for the beam, for the wall, right? This is used to support the first floor beam. Okay. So the small piece of timber known as strut. Okay. Need to be assembled in order to hold or to prevent the outside of the formwork to fall down, right? So you can see here, this is also the formwork for the column. Okay, so as I mentioned previously, it acts as a temporary works. Okay, so you need to erect this formwork. Next, you need to, before you pour the concrete inside this mold, right? So moving to this table, okay, materials and labor constant, right? So here, okay, we can see the description column, okay, for the formwork. Okay, for output, okay, basically in this table, it comprised of few types of structure. Okay, so it is the first one. It is the floor or wall, whereby if let's say in the question or in preparing the costing for the homework for this particular structure, okay, we will refer to this the constant, okay, or this the constant stated in this section to assist us in preparing the costing, right? So I will explain in depth on how to use this table for preparing the cost estimation for the homework. Okay. The second structure is beam, and um, basically it's covered these two structure. Okay, floor or wall and beam. Right. So for the output, there are two elements. Okay, whereby we conduct the homework as I mentioned. It is a temporary work. So first the workers need to erect or assemble this homework. Okay. And once the concrete has been cured, okay, so you need to dismantle, okay, or remove this timber. Okay. So that's why it's considered these two scope of work. Erecting is when you assemble or you build up this temporary works, the formworks, and for removing or dismantling is when the concrete, the concrete, the fresh concrete becomes hardened, and you remove this formwork. Okay, so let's look the output. Okay, so we know that in this Context of discussion. The materials used for the formwork is timber. Okay, the timber. So the fuel or tools used in erecting this formwork is nails. Okay, this is the constant. For the labor, it's required one skilled labor and unskilled labor. Okay, we look at the first part. Okay, so in order to we read this table for you to understand. Okay, so before we proceed with the calculation or example to enhance your understand your understanding, right? So the first part, okay, if let's say the formwork is for the floor or slab, okay, so for this particular scope of work, okay, it's required one skilled and one unskilled labor to do the assembling or erecting work of the timber to form the mold or the formwork. Okay, and with these two workers, okay, it's required 3/4 hours, okay, to erect 1 cubic meter of the formwork, and it's required 3/4 kilogram of nails. Okay, meaning to say that in order to erect 1 cubic meter of formwork, it's required one skilled labor, one unskilled. Okay, so with these two capacity or these two workers, okay, it's required 3/4 hours. Okay? And the tools that required to erect the formwork of 1 cubic meter of materials is 3/4 kilogram of nail, right? Okay. So for removing or dismantling, okay, it's also required the same duration and also the same amount of nail with the same capacity of workers. Okay, meaning to say that you need to either times two. Okay, or we will look into how to calculate or to do the estimation in the example later. Right? Okay. So for remarks column, okay, normally the skill labor, okay, the skill labor for timber work is known as carpenter. So if let's say in the question mention carpenters, okay, so it means that it is skill work. Okay, carpenter's salary, okay, is RM 80 ringgit per day, for example. So it means that the skill worker salary. Okay, so for formwork assumption that can be made by referring to this table of constant is 25 mm. So when you do costing or estimation works for the formwork, we need to consider the thickness because at first the unit used in the table is per cubic meter. Okay. And also this is important, you need to allow the wastage. Okay. How many? According to this table is 5%. Okay. No wastage. Okay. So we know that for formwork, we will on the construction side, the frequency of usage is more than one time. Okay. So for let's say for this plot, okay, the frequency of usage stated in this table is 5 to 6 times or 2 to 3 times. Okay, so basically we will for the most economically, okay, we will use the maximum. Okay, so as maximum as we can, right? So and for the strut, okay, as I mentioned, strut is the small piece of timber. Okay, so for the what we call it, for the wall of the slab, these are the strut. All these we call it the piece of timber. Okay, in position. Okay, so this is strut. Okay, so we consider this in estimation work. Alright, so for strut, the constant is 0.05 cubic meter every 1 meter square of the slab of or the floor. Okay, so if I can illustrate, okay, so every 1 meter square, 1 meter square, okay, of floor or slab, it's required, okay, it's required 0.05 cubic meter of timber, okay, in preparing or to be used as the structure. Okay, right. So let's move to the example. Right. For the example, determine the cost of 1 meter square of a 25 mm thick formwork of a floor slab based on the following. So timber, given the price is 3,000 over cubic meter. For the nails, 1 ringgit per cubic meter. Sorry, 1 ringgit per kilogram. So the salary for the skilled labor is RM 50 ringgit per day. Or you can convert over hour. So by dividing with 8 hours, okay. So that is the concept that we will consistently refer. Standard working hours in one day is 8 hours. Standard working hours in one day is equivalent to 8 hours. Okay. So the salary for the unskilled labor is RM 20 ringgit per day. Alright. So moving to the solution, okay, for this question. So I just want to recap. Okay, if you want to do estimation, okay, estimation, we need to remember that we need to consider these three elements, which are the first one is equipment cost, okay, equipment cost, material cost, and also the labor cost, okay, the labor cost. So for equipment cost, okay, it comprises of the owning cost and also the operation or the operating cost. Okay, so there are elements that to be considered under owning cost and also operating cost. Right. For material cost, you need to identify for that particular work or scope of work what types of materials involved. Okay, so in this discussion for formwork, we know that the materials involved is timber, okay, and also nails, okay, nails, okay, sorry, nails. And for the labor, it comprises of skilled labor or unskilled labor. Okay, skilled, unskilled. Okay. For the formwork, the skilled labor is also known as the carpenter. Right. So first we will look in this question either comprise of either we need to consider the equipment cost or not. So clearly there is no equipment used for this particular work, so we eliminate this component. Okay, in this question. Right. So for the materials, okay, check. Okay, timber and also the nails and the labor. Okay, skilled and unskilled to erect and to dismantle the formwork. Alright, proceed. Okay, so we start with the material cost. Alright, for the materials cost, okay, which is timber. Okay, right. So we will start um, our estimation with calculating um, per area given. Okay, per area given. Okay. Okay, so in this question, okay, given the dimension of the floor, the slab is this one. Okay, the area. And the thickness stated clearly in this question is 25 mm. Okay, I just want to remind, if let's say the thickness is mentioned in the question, so you take the value. If the thickness is not given in the question, so you need to refer to the this column, remarks column, and use the assumption stated in that particular table of constant attached in the question, in the appendix section, right? Okay, so for this question, we are referring to this table of constant, right? Right. So area of formwork, okay, 1 meter times 1 meter, okay, 1 square meter. Okay, we allow for wastage, okay, 5%. So wastage we calculate from the area of the formwork. So 5% from 1 meter square equivalent to 0.05 meter square. Thus the total of area of the formwork including the wastage is 1.05 meters square. Right. So we want to convert this unit into cubic meter. Okay. Thus, we multiply with this thickness. So as I mentioned in the question, given thickness of formwork is 25 mm, so convert into meter equivalent to 0.025 meter. Thus, the volume of formwork is equivalent to 0.026 cubic meter. Right. Okay. So the next component or the next element that need to be considered is strut. Okay. So for floor or slab, as we can refer the strut to be the constant for the strut for every meter square of area of the formwork is 0.05 cubic meter. So, we refer to the table. Is strut. Right, this one. So we take this value and we proceed with the calculation. So this is the value. And we total up the volume of timber. Okay, so 0.026 plus 0.05. Okay, so they just strike. Okay, it's become 0.076 cubic meter. So the total volume of timber, okay, to be used to in preparing the slab 1 meter, 1 meter with the thickness of 0.025 meter is this. Therefore, to get the cost of timber, you need to multiply with the price. So given the price is uh, 3000 per cubic meter for the timber. Okay, per cubic meter, this one. So you multiply with the volume that you have calculated here. Thus, the cost of timber or the cost of materials is this, is 228 ringgit. So like I mentioned earlier, okay, we have to calculate cost per usage. Okay, the formula can be used many times. So as for the constant, you need to refer to the remarks column. So you will choose the maximum of usage or economic or for optimum consideration. Therefore, cost of homework per usage is 38 ringgit. After you divide 228 over 6 times. Okay, so the maximum. Okay, so again, where you get this constant is from the table. Okay, refer to the table here. frequency of usage given. Okay, frequency of usage given. So you take this maximum 6. So thus we get the cost of homework or cost of timber per usage is 38 ringgit. So next, we calculate the cost of nail. Okay, nails. So from the table, okay, we know that for erecting of homework and removing or dismantling of the formwork, it's required this amount of nail per cubic meter. Okay, 3/4 kilogram during erecting and 3/4 kilogram of nail during removing. So thus, in order to calculate the cost of nail, okay, you need to multiply by 2. So either multiply by 2 or straight with, or if you want to do separately, you can write separately. Okay, for example, I give you example. Okay, if let's say you want to write the nail, the cost of nail, for example. Okay, um, cost of nail. Okay, for erecting, it's required 3/4 kilogram or 0.75 kilogram per cubic meter. Okay, times the volume is 0.076 cubic meter times price per kilogram, which is Rm 1 ringgit per kilogram. Okay, so this is for the erecting, and it's same. Okay, because for in this table of constant, you can see that the constant is the same. So for the dismantling, okay, it's required 0.75 kilogram per cubic meter, okay, of nail. Okay, so the volume of timber include or required for the slab is 0.076 cubic meter as per calculated, and the price of the nail is Rm1 over kilogram. So you get the cost of nail for erecting and for dismantling. So due to the same constant here, okay, and the same price, so you can write like this as well. Multiply by 2. Okay, so but yet you need to know to represent what? Okay, to represent the first as erecting or assembling the formwork, and another works of removing or, or dismantling. Okay, once again, the first scope of work is the assembling or, assembling or erecting, okay, to prepare the formwork. And the second scope of work after the complete part, okay, you need to dismantle or remove. Okay, so by referring to the table of constant, it's give or the tools required during both, okay, those both session, okay, erecting and also removing. Okay, so therefore the cost of nail per cubic meter is 12 cents. Okay. Overall, in order to calculate the material cost which comprise timber and also nail, okay, you need to total up cost of timber and cost of nail that you have calculated. Okay, so then the total cost for the materials in this specific formwork, okay, is 38 ringgit and 12 cents. Okay, all right. So moving to the second part of the element, which is labor cost. Okay, so we know that the salary of skilled labor is 50 ringgit per day and unskilled labor is 20 ringgit per day. Right. So if we refer to the table, okay, we know in this for the formwork of slab, it's required one skilled labor and one unskilled labor. One unskilled labor. Okay, one skilled and one unskilled. Okay, right. So it's either you write according to the types of labor, okay, skilled labor for erecting one, uh, and for dismantling one numbers of workers. Okay, whereby it's required 3/4 hours to erect 1 cubic meter of timber. The salary is RM 50 ringgit over 8 hours, and the volume of timber which need to be erected is 0.076 cubic meter. Okay, so for erecting, that is the salary or the cost, and for the dismantling is the same. Okay, due to the same constant of duration to dismantle the formwork, which is 3/4 hours required to dismantle of 1 cubic meter of formwork with the, okay, and with the salary of RM 50 ringgit per day. So due to the unit per hour, so you need to convert the salary per day into salary per hour. So we know that standard working hour for one day is 8 hours. That's why we divided by 8. So then multiply with the volume of timber required, okay, or this particular question, which is the dimension is 1 meter square with thickness of 0.025. Okay, so repeat the same. Okay, the second part is this cost for unskilled labor for erecting and dismantling. So you calculate and you total up the cost, you will get this. the labor cost is 1 ringgit. Okay. If you don't want to write labor cost according to the types of labor, okay, you can write the labor cost based on scope of work. Okay. So example like this. For erecting or assembling work, it's required one skilled labor and one unskilled labor. Where we know this, it's from this table. Alright. Same goes to the removing or dismantling of the formwork. It's required the same capacity of worker. One skilled, one unskilled. Okay, so you can write like this and proceed with the calculation. Okay, so as for the conclusion, you will get the same amount, which is RM1 ringgit. Okay, you can try. Right. So we get the labor cost for this particular work. Right. So next, we want to calculate the total cost. Okay, the total cost of uh, the formwork. Okay, plus 15% profit. Okay, 15% profit. Okay. In this question, it's not given the profit. Okay, the percentage of profit. So we, in this question, assumption of profit is 15%. So by this assumption, we take into consideration in our calculation, okay, thus the total cost will comprise of the material cost and labor cost. Okay, so 38 ringgit and 2 cents plus RM1 ringgit. Okay, you will get 39 ringgit and 2 cents. Okay, so 15% profit basically. If you want to calculate the profit only, right? If you confused, you want to calculate one by one, okay, you can do that. Okay, so 15% out of 39 2 cents is equivalent to 58 59 cents. Okay, so time 39 ringgit and 2 cents. Okay, sorry. The value is 5 ringgit. Okay, 15% from the total cost. Okay, it is 5 ringgit and 85 cents. So total up the the cost with the profit, so you will get 44 ringgit and 87. So if the question asking for the profit only, okay, you can calculate like this. But if the question asks inclusive the profit, so So you need to total up the cost and also the profit. Thus you will get this. And the cost and also the profit. Thus you will get this. Total cost inclusive profit. Okay. And other way to calculate is like this lah. Okay, 39 we get 2 cent multiply with this 1.15. So the value will be the same. Right? So I think that's all. You can answer the exercise. Okay, the exercise which I will give or this exercise. Okay, this exercise in order to enhance your understanding related to the topic. So I think that's all for today. Thank you.